Hello everyone, I'm Kate.
I'm Tina.
And
A warm welcome to Nurses Lift to Work
and
with
today
Tina and Kate.
we have
Coaching
a
podcast by two
beautiful
healthcare
guest
professionals.
with us.
We are
Sally, would you
friends,
mind
we are
introducing
nurses,
yourself?
master NLP coaches,
Yeah, of course. I'm Sally
hypnotherapists,
Gilborson. I
parents
am the
and
advanced
business
practice
owners.
and
We are
independent
busy
prescribing
people
lead for the Royal Devon
juggling
University
many
Healthcare
things,
Trust.
just like you.
That's amazing. Now,
You are
would you
in
mind
for a treat.
just
We will chat
explaining a
about
little bit
informal
more? Tell
coaching
us
tips,
what you
coping
do for those
strategies,
listeners
and
that
how
might
to
not know.
effectively change your mindset
So
and
my
have some
job
fun along
is
the way.
primarily to make
hop on
sure
board with us
that
for Nurses
advanced
Lift to Work.
practitioners and independent prescribers, or non-medical prescribers as they're also called, have the support and governance and training in place for them to be able to do their job properly.
A warm welcome
so
to Nurses Lift to
that
Work
might
with Tina and Kate.
involve,
Coaching
meeting
podcast
up
by
with
two
people
healthcare
before they
professionals.
start their
We are
training,
friends,
talking to them
we are
about what to
nurses,
expect.
master NLP coaches,
It might
hypnotherapists,
involve
parents
running
and business
training
owners.
sessions
We
for
are
them,
busy
or peer
people
support sessions.
juggling many
It might
things,
involve
just
talking to their
like you.
supervisors and mentors to make
You
sure
are
that people
in for
are
a
being
treat.
supported
We will
through the
chat
process
about
of
informal
training.
coaching tips, coping
After
strategies,
people have
and how to
qualified either as
effectively
advanced
change your
practitioners
mindset
or
and
as
have some fun
independent
along the way.
prescribers, I then
So,
need to make
hop on
sure
board with us
that they
for
have appropriate
Nurses Lift
CPD
to
in
Work.
place. I need to address any issues that come up with their practice. So my job is, I hope, to make their job easier to do and to make them feel supported.
Amazing. Thank
That's
you.
such a good explanation. What was there a pivotal moment in your career then, Sally, that you thought, I want to get involved in advanced practice and that prescribing support? Yeah, so well, it's happened in a different way for both things. So with prescribing, I trained as a mental health nurse, and I used to work in the addictions field for lots of years. And I went off on maternity leave 19 years ago, and returned, and everybody was talking about this new thing called non-medical prescribing, and I hadn't heard of it before. It just wasn't on my radar. But we'd had a couple of people in our department who'd gone off and who'd done the prescribing course. And they said, this is really good, because now, rather than patients having to wait to see the doctor, we can actually write the prescriptions ourselves. So I went, okay, I'm going to do this. So I undertook the prescribing course, and it just changed everything about the way that I worked with patients. It allowed me to explain medicines and explain how medicines worked in a very, very different way with our patients. It did stop me from having to hang around waiting for people to write prescriptions. So yeah, really revolutionised the way that I worked. And I then worked as a prescriber in addictions probably for, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years. And then my boss at the time said to me, "Oh, there's this job that's come up as a non-medical prescribing lead in the local trust." I don't know whether she was trying to get rid of me or something, directing me to this other trust. So I applied for the job, thinking there's no way at all that they're going to even give me an interview. There's no way they're going to consider me for this. And they gave me an interview, and then I revised really, really hard for it, because I thought, I really don't want to make too much of a fool of myself. And I went along to the interview, and they gave me the job, bizarrely. So I've had a strong sense of imposter syndrome at that point and ever since. So that was how I got into being a prescribing lead. That was 12 years ago, I think. And round about 2 years ago, I was I had a change of line manager, and my lovely new line manager said to me, "We'd really like you to consider taking on the advanced practice lead temporarily in our organisation." So I did that, and I loved it. And I've stuck with it, and it's now a permanent position. So it's so in both cases, actually, I hadn't considered this before, but in both cases, it's been other people saying to me, "Have you considered doing this other role?" But yeah, I've been so fortunate, really, in my career that I've been having. I've been given these opportunities.
Now, you make such an interesting point, Sally, don't you? That often we don't see our qualities or what we've got to offer, and it's not unusual, is it, for us to have other people saying, "Well, I observe this in you, and you should go for this, or you would be good for this." It's so fascinating, isn't it? You know, that happens a lot in nursing. I think that people need a little nudge from others who notice things in them.
It really is, and I've in preparation for today, I was thinking about people who have been quite instrumental in my career, and who's really made a difference, and it has been the people who push me and nudge me and say, "Have you thought about this?" I do have a bit of a tendency, as you say, you know, a lot of us do, to kind of maybe undersell myself, or to not think that I can do things, and assume that I'm not good enough. And it tends to be other people who say, "Come on, have a go, have a try." And that's how I've really developed, I think, over the years. Yeah.
Do you find yourself doing that with other people now?
I do. So one of the glorious, wonderful bits of my job is supporting other people with their development. It's such a fundamental part of my role. So not only the advanced practitioners and the trainee advanced practitioners and the non-medical prescribers, but also we have some. I get quite excited about the additional bits of work that we're doing in our trust. So, for example, we have Chief Nurse Officer Research Fellows in our organisation. So we're trying to get nurses much more, and AHPs much more involved in undertaking research and having the skills and being excited about undertaking research. So one of the things that I've done over the last couple of years is act as a mentor to some of those people undertaking that programme. And just supporting people at all the different points of their journey, their nursing career has been so exciting for me to do. Yeah, so at the moment I'm very, very interested in research. I did some research as part of my master's maybe about 6 years ago, and I looked at the identity of non-medical prescribers and how they viewed their identity and the impact that this had on their practice. That made me excited and interested to do more research. So I'm currently undertaking a professional doctorate looking at physician associate identity. And again, the impact that this might have on their practice. So for me as a nurse, I think research was, because I did my training so long ago, research was not really part of my training. And it's something that I can really see the value in, having undertaken bits of research myself now as a nurse. I used to feel as though it was like this kind of distant thing that I couldn't be involved in, and that other people did, and it was the kind of the really senior people who would do randomized control trials and go off and do things in a laboratory somewhere, but actually I've realised that I can do research which directly impacts on staff and on patients, and it doesn't need to be some big kind of massive research study. I can do qualitative research which really makes a big difference to patients. So yeah, my one of my big interests at the moment is encouraging nurses to become more involved in research.
Oh,
It's
that's
interesting
fantastic.
as
Yeah.
well, because I've noticed, Tina, I don't know if you've noticed it either, but there does seem to be a big push towards nurse-led research. I've seen those so much more around and about, especially in articles.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still linked to universities and the University of Plymouth in the area where I live. And I know that lots of universities in their degree level program to create registrant nurses, they definitely have a few assignments at least that are research orientated. And a lot of, as you said, Sally, a lot of people do choose that really smaller scale, impactful research that's all about people's lived experience. And it's just fantastic to see that happening. And I think, nurses in a quiet way have always been particularly good at that. They're really good at tuning into what is meaningful for patients, what's happening to them, how do they perceive things. And I love what you were talking about, the language factor as well, because as you and I have had conversations in the past about language and the fact that when non-medical prescribing first was a thing, it was really labelled in that way, and anything that has a non-word at the beginning immediately downgrades that. So if you're an independent prescriber, that's a different thing from being a non-medic. So you're already like in a different tier of prescribing, if you understand what I'm saying. So I love the language change and that whole exploration of what it means in practice.
Tina, I remember us having this conversation 12 years ago. It's taken, I think probably I changed my job title and the way that we refer to it in our organisation maybe about 2 years ago. So it took 10 years to get to that point. But yeah, I think we're moving forward. I think we're there now.
Absolutely. So if our listeners are thinking, well, what would be involved in becoming an independent prescriber, if they weren't already one, what would be involved and what are some of the challenges, but the exciting things as well, I guess?
Yeah. So I think the first thing to say is that people really do need to have skills in their area when it comes to things like clinical decision making, when it comes to assessment. So making sure that you have a really good grounding in that is essential. I undertook some research for NHS England a few years ago, looking at what people needed prior to becoming non-medical prescribers. And one of the things we considered is whether we needed to say that they absolutely needed to have some kind of module, a module on physical assessment and clinical reasoning or something like that. And we decided not to make it mandatory. We felt as though people come to that point of having those skills in lots of different ways. You can undertake a module, but you may, just through years of experience, have developed those skills when it comes to assessing and treating patients. So yeah, that's first thing. I think the other thing that I spend quite a lot of time talking to our potential students about is that they need to have a practice assessor and a practice supervisor in place whilst they're undertaking the course. So you need to have somebody who is going to be, from a practice assessor point of view, who is going to be able to meet up with you, set up a learning contract, meet up with you on a regular basis, sign you up as competent at the end, and you need to have a good relationship with that person. You need to be able to meet up with them on a regular basis through the course. And from a practice supervisor point of view, that person would be more of a coach or a mentor who would work alongside you as well during the course. So yeah, I think some experience in your area. The course itself is, people talk about it as being quite challenging. I think it is challenging, but it's also really exciting because it will go through so much information. It will give you so much knowledge about pharmacology, about the way that drugs work, and are processed by the body. All of those things are discussed as part of that independent prescribing course. So for me, when I undertook it, I had been, as I said earlier, an addictions nurse. And I thought I was pretty good at what I did. I thought I had lots and lots of skills. I then undertook the course and realised that I had so much to learn. There's so many different things that I didn't understand. So it's hard work, but it will teach you so much, which you will be able to use immediately with your patients. That's the other thing that I've really noticed, kind of mentoring and seeing people through the prescribing course over the years, is that they develop and they grow, and they can use that understanding with their patients straight away. So yeah, coming back to your question about what people need, I think they need the kind of clinical assessment and diagnosis skills. They need to have all of the support in place from supervisors. There is a really good resource called the Preparing to Prescribe Toolkit, which is freely available. I'm sorry, I don't have the website.
Don't worry, we'll find it and pop the link in the show notes. Don't worry.
Great, it's amazing. So it goes through what you need to be thinking about if you want to undertake the course. It goes through some of the things that I've said, but also, what you need to be looking for in terms of a supervisor, what any kind of additional training that you need to be considering. And although it was originally designed by the University of Surrey, it's applicable to any university anywhere that you're studying. So that's a resource that I direct all of our potential students towards, first of all, and also talk to your whoever is responsible for independent prescribing in your organisation, because we will have access to funding, we will have access to support, and we'll be able to talk to you about putting that in place.
What a lovely comprehensive answer. Thank you, Sally. Okay, on Kate.
From a confidence point of view, so obviously you see these students at the beginning when they're just about to start their prescribing, and then when they get to the end, what do you notice is the biggest difference in themselves, how they are, how they behave? Is there one? Or you've got a massive smile on your face, so
it's such a roller coaster for people, and I had a meeting just this morning with some people who've just started the course. It's now 24th of September. They started the course at the beginning of September, and they were all, I've had this conversation with so many people over the years, they were all a bit uncertain, they were feeling overwhelmed. They said that they turned up for their first few days, they were blasted with all of this information about pharmacology that they didn't understand, and they were feeling quite excited about it, but also very, very overwhelmed about the whole thing. And then as they start going through the course, gradually you see this process where they gain in confidence. At the start, nobody thinks that they will be able to get to the end and complete it, and they all do. We have in the UK over 100,000 prescribers. At the moment, it's we're really leading the world when it comes to independent prescribing. We have more prescribing professions and larger numbers of prescribers than most other places. It's been a real success. So yeah, that kind of the process of seeing them through it and then getting to the end after 6 months where they're coming out, and they might still have some anxieties about prescribing for the first time, putting your name, your signature at the bottom of a bit of paper can be really intimidating, really scary the first time. But I then see actually after they've qualified in 6 months to year or so after qualification, they just grow in confidence, and all of that kind of sense of imposter syndrome that they start off with just kind of dissipates.
And we talk here, Sally, about mindset shifts, because that's a lot of the coaching and the background master practitioner training that Kate and I have had. So what mindset shifts do you kind of notice, or did you notice in yourself that helped you or help others step into that leadership confidently? What do you need to change about what you think or believe?
What a very, very good question, Tina. So what changed for me? I think just having to do the job, and getting feedback from people, reflecting on that feedback, reflecting on what I'd learned, has been helpful to me. So with the advanced practice role, it's still very new for me. I'm still kind of learning quite a lot. And initially, I'm amongst friends here, aren't I? In the first couple of weeks or so, I ended up in tears. I phoned my manager as well. I phoned somebody else and was crying and saying, I can't do this. I can't do this. And she was amazing. She said, you can do this. Come on. But you have all of the skills. You have all of the ability to be able to do this. So I kind of pulled myself together and I kind of went back in there. I like keeping a work plan. I have a work plan for all of the different elements of my job. Sometimes my job feels really, really busy and I feel as though I'm not achieving very much because I'm firefighting a lot and I'm trying to sort out so many different things. But reflecting back on my work plan on a monthly basis and actually looking at what I have achieved makes me think, actually, I'm okay at this. I can do this job. I'm not so bad after all. So maybe I don't know whether that answers your question properly, but that's how I deal with the kind of stepping into roles that feel a bit scary, and developing is just the key, and seeking having lots of conversations, seeking supports, having critical friends around to really kind of question what I'm doing, and help support me and make me realise that there are things that I need to learn and there are things I could do better, but also that I am doing some things okay.
Yeah, I loved what you said about how you kind of validate that, and earlier when you were chatting about imposter syndrome, I don't know a single nurse for sure who hasn't had that experience at some point in their career, or it doesn't pop up from time to time. And I know in other professions, and medicine particularly, they do have training to own that they are the expert in the room, and they're very confident in that way, and that is good and helpful in lots of situations. And nurses don't get that particular training, so at times I have looked around a room and thought, oh, I would appear to be the most experienced person on this particular topic in the room. So I need to stop thinking that I don't know what I've got to offer, because I've got something, helpful to offer. And I think that's not an unusual feeling for nurses. And somehow we kind of almost add, we say that feeling of confidence and like expertise and solidity in our expertise almost is associated with being show-offy or arrogant or some other feeling that we should be having. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting interplay, isn't it? And what validates us and our expertise is from outside, other people noticing our expertise, people getting value from our expertise by mentor and coaching and joining us in those expertise, or internally. And I think the internal bit is the bit that we all go, oh, is it okay though? Is it really okay to sort of go, I'm really good at this?
So as we were Sorry, as we were talking then, Tina, as I was talking about my experiences, like there's a bit of me inside which is really cringing. I don't want to say that I'm okay at what I do. It feels bad, but why not? Why?
Yeah.
Why not?
I think our strength is our weakness. So our humility makes us very accessible, and it means we don't become arrogant, professionally arrogant. So the humility is good in one regard, but it can be challenging in another when we should just be stepping up and saying, we are the most expert person around to be doing this. So yeah, I think 100 people will be listening in at least and going, oh yes, I recognise that feeling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just imagine the conversation that you would have with your newly qualified self. If she could see you now, she would probably be just like, wow, I am incredible. Do you ever do?
Definitely. It's no, I don't think about that. And I fell into nursing a little bit. This was never a thing that I kind of particularly wanted to do. My A levels didn't go very well, and then I ended up working in a care home, and I really I didn't like the way that some of the people were treated sometimes. So I thought, actually I want to do, maybe I should go and be a nurse so that I can make a difference in this area. And so it was never I didn't have high expectations of myself, I have to say. So I think the me from a long time ago would be really quite amazed at what I've done, and also kind of academically as well. I was my A levels, I dropped out, wasn't very good, and now I'm doing a doctorate. So I kind of think that anybody can achieve anything. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
And that's so encouraging, isn't it? Because I think that people listening in often think, well, these folks, they must have from the day one have had this amazing trajectory for their career. And, from 18 years of age, Sally, you would have been imagining yourself doing your PhD, and similarly in my own career, I was at master's level by the time I ended my career and working as a director. If you'd have said to me at 18 that I was going to be doing that, I'd have laughed, and I'd probably have choked on my alcoholic drink at the time.
Absolutely.
It would have been like, no, really, come on now, we'll stop. Because I think that we do have to grow that belief incrementally as we get introduced to more and more things, and we think, oh yeah, actually I can do this, but I can also do this, and also horizons open up, don't they? We think, oh, look at this other interesting thing I can get involved in. So yeah, if you're at the beginning of your career, midway, or wherever you are, you never know where nursing is going to take you.
Absolutely. And there are so many different opportunities that I've had access to as a nurse as well. So a few years ago, I did a secondment as an electronic health record champion. So we were going to be introducing a new electronic health record into the organisation. And as part of this, they funded us to go. So I went to America and I went to Spain, and we looked at different electronic health systems around the place. I then got the opportunity to go and talk to different teams about what I'd seen in these places and what we were going to bring back into our organisations. So that was something that wasn't really related to, I trained as a mental health nurse. That was nothing to do with what I started off doing, but was so exciting. And again, doing what I'm doing now was a million miles away from where I started. But it's great. It's so exciting.
That's kind of, the joyous thing about our profession is you just don't know where you are going to end up, or the people that you'll meet along the way, and your starting point can be so very different. And even 6 months down the line, you can be on a completely different path that you just I had no idea I was going to end up here. And how amazing is that to open ourselves to new opportunities and experiences? It's amazing. And like you said, you got to go to all of these incredible places and do incredible things. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. My son is just kind of thinking about what he wants to do with his life at the moment. He's just started at university, but I, sadly not in nursing, but I did really try really hard to say to him, if you're a bit undecided about what you want to do, then nursing is the best thing, because there's so many places it can take you. He wanted to do some kind of care thing but wasn't sure. So yeah, I think there's definite it's an exciting world, and it's changing all of the time as well, particularly when we come to think about advanced practice and independent prescribing. These were things when I started my training, this was not a thing that nurses could do. We now have in our trust, we have, I think, 16 or 17 consultant practitioners at the moment. We have people who are extending their abilities and their skills to places which were just unthinkable when I qualified. And I think that will continue to grow in the future. So
yeah. Recently, my daughter, she's coming up for 22, she had a healthcare assessment from somebody about a musculoskeletal problem, and it was the most, she wanted me to go with her. I was just an observer role, but it was the most thorough, amazing consultation. The information that was given was just absolutely on point for her to understand it. She felt like she had choices and options, and it was just amazing to sit there for 25 minutes of consultation talk. And as we left, I just asked this practitioner, what was their profession? And he said, "Oh, I'm a physiotherapist." And I thought, yes, because it was just such a good consultation. But there's also nurses who work at that level as well. And it is incredible how the professions are developing. What do you think? What would you like to see the next generation of nurses believe about what is possible for them, Sally?
I think that they can do anything. It's expanding so quickly that you can bring your enthusiasm and your creativity and your passion to develop roles that are really going to benefit your patients in ways that are, the sky's the limit. At the moment, again, when I come back to our advanced practitioners, we have new roles which are being developed all of the time. We just recruited to a new dermatology advanced practitioner the other day. That's the first one in our organisation. I was talking to a pain advanced practitioner who is newly in post. Again, it's the extending of people's skills is enormous at the moment, and that's supported by the 10-year plan. It's we know that these roles are good value for money. Unfortunately, the NHS is a lot about money at the moment. So we know that these roles are good value for money, but they're also really, really good for people that are doing them. So to be able, I've just talked a lot about how exciting it has been for me to be able to progress myself and to progress my role. For all of these people who are undertaking these more advanced roles at the moment, they're experiencing the same thing. When we're working to the kind of best that we can, when we're developing ourselves, I think that that leads to that sense of fulfillment, which is so important for people as we're progressing through our careers.
Thanks. What a brilliant answer. So I want to ask you almost a final question, really. So this is a complex job that you do. What do you do to decompress, Sally, or stay a bit sane? What do you do to look after yourself?
I have a busy life. So as well as my day job, I am a Cub Scout leader. I do taekwondo. I run a board games club. So I have things outside of my work life which help me stay connected, I think, with things outside. So that helps. I have little things that I do on a daily basis. I don't know whether this is going to sound a little bit sad, but every day I have a little 10-minute mindfulness kind of wake up thing that I do. And that I feel helps me to stay focused for the day, and just kind of it sets me up for the day. When things start getting busy, I feel as I can take myself back to that position of calm. And every day I write down 3 good things that have happened to me. And I don't really look back on those things, but writing it down means that I'm kind of consciously thinking about what those things are. And they can be work things, or they can be home things, or they can be my cat coming and sitting in my lap. Quite often, I've realised over time, because I've been doing this for quite a long time now, so I've got, I've learned about myself through this process. Quite often, they are connections that I make with people. So it will be some conversation that I've had with somebody, a little kind of interaction that kind of reinforces the good stuff which is happening in my life. So I think those are the things that I do to kind of manage my life, and they work. I really I'm able to have what I think most of the time is quite a busy work life, but also maintain a bit of kind of calm in the middle of all of that as well.
We've got a lovely episode on gratitude practice, actually, that I'll link our listeners into, because we believe very much in how helpful that is, Sally. So it's fantastic to hear you talking about it. And I feel that the listeners need to know what your favourite board game is then.
Oh gosh, in my room here, we have a board games room, and we have maybe 400 board games in there. So it's super, super geeky. My favourite board game is probably at the moment a game called Terraforming Mars, where you have to
you've been listening to the Nurses Lift to Work with Kate and Tina. Please remember, this is not a replacement for medical treatment or help.
I'm so sorry.
So do seek assistance.
This is all good. I love that.
Yeah, I'm just about to Google it.
Please do like, subscribe, give us stars, like and share with your friends and colleagues.
Kate, did you want to
All
ask
good
anything else, or we
things.
say goodbye to
Do you
Sally?
know what? No, I found it so interesting, and especially I think it's amazing that you're on, because so many of our listeners are wanting to upskill and better themselves, and this is just an excellent opportunity for them to see what's available. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, there's so much out there, and there's more being developed all the time. So in our trust, we've had, I think, maybe 12 or 14 advanced practice roles that have been developed in the last 12 months, or trainee advanced practice roles in the last 12 months. So all of the time there are new things coming out, and new opportunities. And in terms of prescribing, we've gone, when I started, I think there were 50 non-medical prescribers in our organisation. We now have 450. So it's just expanded so much. So yeah, lots of opportunities there.
Perfect. Sally, thank you so much for giving us your time, talking to us and telling us all about being a non-medical prescribing or independent prescribing lead, and an advanced practice lead. Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you so much. It's lovely talking to you both.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you along. Take care, everybody. You've been listening to A Nurse's Lift to Work.